I was born, I was probably not meant to live. My mother was nursing me, and they literally just came in and took me from her arms. And they tried, of course, they were trying to sustain life, but they needed to transfuse blood. And they tried in my arm, I still have the scars there. They tried in the ankle, and that didn't work. And for the first time, they went to the head. And so they were successful in completely transfusing my blood that allowed me to prosper. I did live, obviously, and I think this was very important for me as I began to understand this as an older person, that there is a reason for me to live. I was a very beloved child. Mother and Dad were just so thrilled to have me. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. Mother had been a school teacher, and my father had studied medicine in Atlanta and became an ophthalmologist. Older sister Betty is about 2.5 years older than I, and Mary is 12 years older than I. So this set up some early dynamics. And I think in psychological terms, Mary was the traditionalist, Betty was the rebel, and I was the in-betweener. I went to Metairie Park Country Day School for kindergarten, and I actually attended through 12th grade. The man I married, Ken Manson, was in the class right ahead of me. And I loved the art department. I was there almost every day. One of the Mrs. Dorlando had been a patient of Dad's, and he had saved her eyesight. So through those 13 years, I just received wonderful instruction. She was more in the sculpture, ceramics area, but we really had just almost like college level instruction. Ended up going to Bradford Junior College in Boston, which was pretty far distance from New Orleans, and it was a very expensive experience, which I recognized after the first year, and I really didn't want to stay. It was so cold, and I was unhappy. Dad had taught at Tulane in the medical school for 40 years, and he was allowed to have a child attend there for a tuition waiver. So I actually went back and studied at Newcomb, the Women's College of Tulane, for 3 years, and I was on a complete tuition waiver. So I knew Ken had gone to University of Virginia, and I didn't know, really hadn't heard where he was. But one time I was driving away from my house, and he was going around a corner heading towards my house. And so I was just caught, we saw each other and it was like, oh my gosh, I thought he's in town. And so about a week or two after that particular occurrence, I saw Ken outside of his house raking leaves. And I thought, hey, I'm just going to stop by and see what he's up to. And we kept talking. So we planned a date for maybe, Friday night or something, and that was our first date. I think because I approached him in a real positive manner, we just enjoyed each other and sit at the dinner table almost every night and just talk about the day, talk about what happened, how we felt about it. And that, I think, allowed us over these last 44 years to really grow, struggling with things, and we were struggling with them together. And so anyway, we dated for about a year. So I decided, I really wanted to marry someone who valued women, who were kind to women, who we could grow together. And I think we've been able to do that. So we married. Then we started the routine of the Air Force, because by that time right before we married, he had gotten his wings in Del Rio, Texas, since graduated and got his pilot wings. Very, very significant time for him. Ken really didn't think we should have children. Here we were, stationed in California. He had so much pressure on him, and he said, about 6 months into our marriage, I said, okay, I want to have children. And he said, well, not yet. But I said, no, marriage is wonderful, and we've had some great times together, but I really do want to have children. And he finally said, well, I guess, for any reason, if I'm killed and we had children, you would have that precious child to, carry on with you. So, I stopped taking birth control pills, and we started trying. Well, I was so ignorant. I thought, you tried 1 month, and the next month you were pregnant. Well, it didn't work that way.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. It was the beginning of understanding that that just because I wanted something, it wasn't going to happen necessarily, and it was not going to happen in my time. It was going to happen in God's time. Ashley was born in Baptist Hospital on February 23rd, 1972. The same hospital I was born in, the same hospital Ken was born in, Ashley was born in. Then I had lots of trouble getting pregnant for the next one and lost it. One fetus died in utero, and losing a pregnancy is really significant. And it's really just a great deal out of me. And I think it took a number of months to get over it, and it helped me to understand later on other women in hospitals having babies and how you don't just throw them away and get going with your life. There's that grieving period that is so important. William was born on April 9th, 1977, and so they were 5 years apart. Wasn't really planned that way, I really thought we'd have one in between. But looking back on it, I think God knew that this is how we needed to have them. Well, at first, Ashley was just this docile, very sweet little girl, and then later on, she started developing, and she became this very strong woman in about 7th and 8th grade. William, he was this busy, cute, sort of mischievous little boy, and get friends, and they'd get in trouble, and was getting in trouble all over the place. He tried to flush our kitty cat down the toilet. When I had an art consulting business for 18 years, when I started realizing that I really might be able to go to seminary, I didn't think Ken understood. He said, well, it's our anniversary, but it's the morning of, but he said, I have some things to give to you, and I would love to show these to you. Still have them. But one was it's sort of a Cyclopean sculpture of a woman, and then this other beautiful disc piece. They were museum reproductions. And when I saw the woman, I thought, oh, Kitty, you're so silly. He understands better than you do that this is very important to you. The children were grown and out of the house by then, and this symbol of this woman, who was taking charge of her own life, so to speak, and listening to God and being drawn into a whole new way of life. When I went to seminary, I really felt like I had a lot of things, thoughts, theological thoughts, political thoughts, and so forth, that I didn't feel that I could express. And I hoped, I wasn't sure it would happen, but that during my training in seminary, that I would find my voice, and that I would find a way to express it, whatever it is, in a way that it's not inflammatory, but it's acceptable to me as well as helping others to hear it.